Hello, this is Digestive System Part 1, preparing you for the test this Wednesday, October 28th. Just a quick overview. So, oops, I meant to do that. All right, we've already talked about this. The GI tract is the actual pathway of food, right? So food travels here, then here, small intestine, on your right side of your body, large intestine, and out. And instead, the accessory organs are not the pathway where food travels. Food never goes into the accessory organs. They are the organs which produce and secrete digestive enzymes and other fluids to help digestion. Mechanical digestion is the physical breaking up of food. Chemical digestion is the chemical breaking up of food. In other words, large molecules being broken down into smaller molecules with the aid of enzymes, which trigger those reactions. And absorption is when digested food or nutrients enter the bloodstream. 2 layers of muscle throughout the entire digestive tract, only with the exception of the stomach. They are lengthwise or longitudinal muscle, as well as circular muscle. The inner layer, even more inner layer, is the mucous membrane, in which mucus glands produce and secrete mucus. The reason for that is kind of gross. It's actually lubrication as well as protection. Notice that smooth muscle is involuntary muscle. The entire digestive tract is lined with this smooth muscle. For what purpose? For the purpose of peristalsis. It's very hard to see in a static picture because it's a dynamic thing. It's a series of wave-like contractions which push food along down the digestive tract, kind of propel it along. It's powerful enough that you can swallow food even if you are completely upside down. So peristalsis is stronger than gravity. The esophagus is probably the simplest organ, really just performing peristalsis. No digestion, no absorption. Quick note, right above the esophagus is the throat, which the scientific name is the pharynx. You'll see that in diagrams, so it's good to know. An exception. Everything has 2 layers of smooth muscle in the GI tract except for the stomach, which has 3 layers. Notice the 3 completely different directions of the 3 different orientations of stomach muscle so that it can contract in all different kinds of directions and end up being a mixing, churning mechanism for food. It mixes food with lots of gastric juices and turns it into this yucky, pasty chyme, right? Liquidy, mushed up food. The stomach is also characterized by these deep glands, right? This is the surface of the stomach. And these are like pores, okay? And so this is all you would see if you had a camera looking into the stomach. You'd see this part. But inside the stomach tissue, each of these pores is a deep pit lined with cells which are making and secreting stomach acid and enzymes. This is a real photograph of what it looks like. These are the cells surrounding the opening to the gastric pit. The small intestine is small for its diameter, not for its length. It's actually very long. Why is it long? That long pathway gives plenty of time to digest the food, but most importantly, a thin tube maximizes surface area. So the surface area of the intestinal wall is maximized for what purpose? For the purpose of absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream. So this will explain this even further. The intestines, we already talked about this. The first innermost layer, mucous membranes, secretes mucus. The second layer is smooth muscle. There's 2 layers of it. But on that inner layer, there's this additional little characteristic that's only in the small intestine. There's all these bumps, right, from the folds of the intestine. But on each of those folds, there's all these little bumps here, these kind of light pink or cream colored bumps. These bumps are often called finger-like projections because they're tall and thin. They are called villi. And what is their purpose? What's their deal? Well, these villi, see how they're long, thin, and finger-like, are dramatically increasing the surface area. Increasing the surface area, increasing it a lot to enable absorption. In fact, for the purpose of absorption, they each have capillaries, which are the tiniest blood vessels inside of them, so that nutrients are constantly entering, right? Nutrients are coming from the central part of the small intestine and entering through the tissue of the villi in order to enter the bloodstream, and then the nutrients get taken away, taken to the rest of the body. Now, here's a picture of intestinal villi, right? Here they are. And if you were to like zoom in, this picture is supposed to be zooming in on this square here, zoom in even closer, look what there are. Microvilli, so even smaller. They're often described as being brush-like, so like bristles of a brush or something. And what does that do? Increase surface area even more. In fact, the surface area is so huge of the small intestine that some calculations speculate it's as large as this number here, which is the size of a tennis court. Other calculations are more modest, but it's at least 40 meters squared. That's supposed to say squared. I guess it's a hard thing to calculate. This is a real photograph of a micrograph of villi. The large intestine, or the colon, which this is where the small intestine flows into the large intestine. This is on the right side of your body. So the large intestine goes like this. Not as many curves and turns as the small intestine. The large intestine really doesn't do very much in comparison to the small intestine. What happens there? There's the absorption of water. This might sound really strange, but chyme, remember, is really liquidy and pasty stuff. So food, as it goes through your stomach and as it goes through your small intestine, is very, very watery, right? Why? Because it just mushes up the food and makes it easier to digest. But really, now your body wants that water back and takes it back. This might sound gross, but the walls of the intestine, as water passes through the walls of the intestine are perfect filters. They only take back pure water. They don't take back any of the bad stuff that they don't want, right? So all the unwanted food or the excess or the waste is left inside the intestine. Only pure water travels out. So water exits the large intestine. So it's the reabsorption of water. And then you could say that's all that happens there. No digestion, no other digestion or absorption, except there's one really unusual quirk the large intestine has. It is the location of billions and billions of bacteria. They're healthy bacteria, right? They're known as the gut flora, they're often called. And these bacteria, this gut flora, has a couple functions. There are certain carbohydrates that we are unable to digest. There's a great variety of nutrients and of carbohydrates. We're unable to digest some of them. The bacteria digest them for us. So right at the end of digestion, when we've digested everything we can, the bacteria continue digestion and digest what we're unable to do. And when they break down these carbs, that is how we are provided with vitamins B and K. They come through the digestion that the bacteria do for us. And otherwise, we'd be unable to receive those vitamins. The other thing that healthy bacteria do is, if you think about what intestinal flus are, it's when, or intestinal infections, it's when bad bacteria come into our intestines and start to take over. Well, the more good bacteria they are, the more they kick out the bad bacteria, so to speak. They don't leave room for them. So there's an immune role, a protective defense role that good bacteria have. Their role is actually much bigger than what's indicated here. It's actually a subject of lots and lots of research because there's all kinds of interesting connections to your health in general, even your mental health. They're finding between the types of bacteria you have in your large intestine, all the colonies of bacteria living there, and how healthy you are. In general, the more healthy food you eat, the better types of bacteria you have living there. The more junk food you eat, and the more sugars you eat, it encourages less healthy bacteria to live there. The appendix is this little projection coming out. It was often said to have no function at all and do nothing useful, but there's been recent theories and observations which are super interesting. They have speculated, and I don't know how much it's been confirmed by studies, but that when a stomach flu or intestinal flu comes through and all the good bacteria are being killed off, right? Because it's like a war of the bacteria. The bad ones are taking over, the good ones are being killed off. Perhaps the appendix is a spot where the good bacteria hang out. It's their little safety zone. It's their little bunker. And when you've fought off the intestinal flu and you're better, they'll come out and they'll repopulate the large intestine. These are worthwhile videos to watch. I especially recommend this one and this one. This one is pretty cool, but kind of gross. Accessory organs, those are the 4 accessory organs. Food never goes there. The salivary glands, these are always in pairs. This is on the right side and the left side. Same, always on the right side of under your jaw, under your tongue, and the back of your mouth. Always on the right and left side. They secrete amylase. They secrete saliva, and in saliva there's amylase, which is an enzyme which can digest starch. It begins the digestion of starch. These are the other accessory organs. This huge one is the liver. It's on the right side of your body. The stomach on the left side of your body. The liver is here on the right. The gallbladder and the pancreas. This is the very beginning of the small intestine. It has a special name, the duodenum or the duodenum. I don't know. It has 2 alternate pronunciations, it seems. Here they are all connected. So what are the purpose of each of these? So remember, this is the left side of your body. This is the right side of your body. The salivary glands, we already talked about. The liver makes bile for lipid digestion. Bile is essential for lipid digestion, although it's not actually an enzyme. The gallbladder stores and concentrates bile and then secretes it when it's needed, and secretes it where? Into the small intestine, where it will be used for digestion. The pancreas makes lots and lots of enzymes. It makes digestive enzymes for lipids, carbohydrates, proteins. And they also are released into the small intestine, into the duodenum. And the liver has another really important role. So let me skip this for a moment. Here's what happens. Okay, this is your heart, which circulates blood around your body, usually in kind of loops. Here you might imagine the heart circulates to the small intestine and the stomach. This really, they could have written GI tract here, and circulates back. But when it circulates back, this loop is special. It doesn't just go to the GI tract and back. When it comes back, it always goes through the liver. Why? The blood goes to the GI tract, picks up nutrients. It gets all the nutrients that it's going to deliver to the whole body. But it also gets some bad stuff. There are things you've eaten in excess, too much of something. There are impurities, toxins. Maybe it would be preservatives. Maybe it would be food coloring. I'm just making it up. Maybe it would be just certain impurities even that come in natural foods. Not every single thing we eat is good for us or comes in the right concentrations. So who's going to take care of these excesses and impurities? Well, the blood, which is now full of nutrients, nutrient-rich blood, goes to the liver, and the liver acts like the filter. It takes out the toxins. It puts things in the right proportion. It also does a lot of other organizing. It takes what you have too much of and stores it and so on. And then this nutrient-rich blood will continue to the heart, and where it will distribute those nutrients to the rest of the body. So all blood that goes to the GI tract is first brought to the liver for detoxification and for being filtered before it gets taken to the heart to be distributed everywhere. So the name of the blood vessel, which is interesting here, is the hepatic portal vein. This is a good summary. You should read this carefully and learn this. The hepatic portal vein is what brings nutrient-rich blood from the GI tract to the liver for the purpose of being filtered. And here are some other functions of the liver. So we've talked about 1 and 2. 3 is a function which points to the fact that it really does many, many, many jobs. And we won't be able to talk about them all. You might remember that one thing we did learn about is glycogen storage. So basically, many metabolic processes and chemical processes occur in the liver. And I think that is it. Yep, that's it. So that is an overview of digestive system, and I hope that was helpful.